You guys, we have a special guest here today. We have the #1 group from last month and from many months, Brian Schulze here with us today by Zoom. And I can't wait for you to hear his story, what he has to say. He is a stealth agent. He lives in Mexico. He owns his business, he's retired, he runs his business from out of the country. We also have 2 members of his team. You guys come up, Justin Eskew and Kyle Cascio. They're going to talk to us a little bit about what it's like to be on Ryan's team.
Ryan is here. Ryan is with us. I'm digging the beard, man.
Yeah, I know. Yeah. Hi, Ryan.
Hello, how are you?
Good to see you again.
You too?
Thanks for taking the time to join us.
Sure. Can you hear me?
Sure can.
Okay, good. What's that?
You miss us.
The truth.
Well, I didn't come into
No.
I didn't come to the office when I was in Tampa, so it's
That's because you're working all the time.
not as of recently, but yes, for a long time. You're right.
And now you've got the benefit from that, right?
Yeah.
I met you several years ago. I want to say it was in 14 or 15. But you were in our team meeting once before, and I heard your backstory and your big why. And I would love for you to tell the agents how you got into real estate, kind of how you came to find Keller Williams, why you are still with us, and maybe what's about your big why, what's motivating you.
Okay, so prior to this career, I was in government work, and in 2009, decided to get into real estate. So I ended up joining Coldwell Banker in West Chase with Carolyn Reynolds. She's on my team, but she's not here today. Some of you may know her. And Carolyn Reynolds and I were sitting in the office in the depths of the market, wondering when the world was going to implode. And we just joined forces because we thought that 2 people who didn't know what they were doing was better than 1. So we just made it a pact to come to the office every day and try to help each other and get through the hard times. And we were taking rental leads from the Wood team and from Jason and Diane Pithers because they didn't want to work rentals, and we were just doing whatever we could. So Carolyn and I have been together since 2009. And then Sue, I don't know if Sue's at the meeting, but Sue's worked with me for a very long time as well, probably 11 or 12 years. And she just does like the finance portion of the business and repairs for listings and stuff like that. And she then got licensed. So about 10 years ago, we made the switch over to Keller Williams, and our team grew just a little bit. We were recruited over to Keller Williams, and our team does not run like a normal Keller Williams team that that people would be used to. And so it's one of those things where it works for us, but it doesn't work for everybody. But it's important for me to share with everybody, and I can't see any of you, but all of you that are in the room, that if you do try the Keller Williams way and it doesn't work, you're looking at somebody who tried the Keller Williams way and it didn't work. So I went a different way and it did work. And so, it's just important that if you try and you don't succeed, then you need to try other things and not just give up, because there's multiple different ways to be successful. So my why over the year has changed. My why used to be, I want money, because I grew up very poor, and I didn't get any help from anybody, and nobody ever gave me chances, and nobody, I was homeless for a bit when I was 18, living out of my car. And luckily my uncle, took me in for a little bit until I could get a job. But the 2 boys that you see sitting in front of you, Justin, I actually met at the gym. He was working at the front gym, and this kind of goes into what I look for when I look for teammates. So I walked into the gym like I do every day. This is back when I was in Tampa, and Normally you walk in and there's 3 lines. There's a line for people who are paying for protein shakes. There's a line for people who are signing up, and there's a line for people who are checking in. And most people behind that desk can work 1 line at a time. They're over checking out the people with the protein. They're signing people. Then they go to sign people up, and everybody's waiting for their turn. Well, I walk in and I'm standing about 3 back, and I see Justin checking people in, ringing up the register, and signing up new people all at the same time, flying back and forth from all 3 lines. And I'm like, that is the guy that I want to work for me. And he was probably what, 19? 19. And so I got up, it was my turn to check in. And I said, do you want to come work for me? I'll pay you double. And he's like, sure. And I said, you have and I said, you have no idea what you just signed up for. I could be anything. So he quit the gym. He was in college, and he was working for me on his off hours. And he decided that he didn't want to go to college for what he was going to college for. So he went and got licensed, and he worked for me as an hourly employee for a very long time. And then he got, like I said, he got licensed, and I trained him exactly how I would want to train him. And he didn't have any bad habits, which was great because I got him so young. And so now he's what, 25? 25. So it's been 6 years. And January 1st of this year, Justin and I went 50-50. So we are now 50-50 teammates because I'm not in Florida anymore. I haven't been back for 2.5 years. So I haven't been back since February of 2020. So Justin runs the ground, and I run all the paperwork. I do all the compliance. I do all the listing. I schedule the pictures. I take care of everything. And so now, as I phase out my work because I'm ready to be done, Justin has now hired his Justin, which is Kyle. And so now Kyle is starting out is exactly how Justin started out with me, except now he's working, for Justin and under mostly Justin's direction. So my why changed from financial freedom to, now that I've achieved that, enjoying life and getting up and going for my runs and going for my bike rides. And my mom lives with me now, so I've got my mom here to spend time with, and overseas travel. And we just got back from a out west trip for 4 months or so, popping around Arizona, Colorado. So my why has changed now, and now my why is making sure that Justin's successful for the benefit of both him and Kyle, and so that he can be at a position that I'm at when he's my age, 41. And then hopefully Kyle can be where Justin's at when he's, a couple years into it, and just keep on going. And so I didn't get those chances when I was young. So it was important to me to make sure that I gave those chances to people, leaving people's lives better than I found them was my goal.
So I know that you did groundwork for everything that you have now. I know that our agents want to know, where do your clients come from?
Sure.
What you're working with now, how did you cultivate your database?
Well, this is one of the things that Justin and I often talk about, and I remind him a lot, because when I was breaking my back in 2010, Justin was like 13. And so he didn't get a chance to see what I did. But most of I don't have Facebook. I don't have Twitter or anything else that you can talk on. I have a LinkedIn account, which I don't post to, but every single client that I have is 100% from a referral, a past client, a friend, a sphere. So and I can go back to where this started. This started out as a rental lead in 2009 from Doug Wood, who referred me a renter who wanted to look at property. And Doug said, I'm not showing property, because Doug was a mega agent at the time. And I said, I'll show that renter property. And I went out and I showed that renter 4 rental homes for $100. And turns out that we were able to get them to buy, and then they referred me 4 of their family members, and those people referred me 4 of their family members, and those people, and it just kept going. And then in 2014, we were selected. We were asked to interview for a builder who had in-house sales that were slacking, and so they brought in outside sales reps, and that's when I brought in James Falcon, who some of you may know. He's on the team as well. And so James and I worked for a builder and did a resale for 2 full years, but that was a huge step to our business because we were selling 30 new homes for Domain Homes, or more, maybe 40 for about 2.5 years before they were able to get their sales back on track. And so it's all these relationships that you make over the years that if you are competent and good, they will come back to you and refer you. And I don't reach out to my clients after I close homes for them, but they know, and I say it at closing, that you're not going to hear from me. I'm not going to harass you, but you know I'm here if you need me. And most of our clients constantly return to us. So now I just have to explain that, we've changed our business. Justin is boots on the ground with Kyle, and I do all the, legal paperwork and contracts and listings and schedule photos and put in our listings and stuff like that. And I thought that people wouldn't take it well, but they actually do take it well. And, the number one thing, and Justin knows this, is communication. You have to communicate and respond. Kyle responds to text messages within 3 seconds, and Justin is about 5 seconds. So it's super important to be super fast in this market, because behind you are 200 more agents that are willing to take your spot with any client. So we are super fast at responding. I respond at 8 p.m. I realize that is, some people like to set boundaries, but this is a market where you cannot set boundaries, because there's 100 to 200 agents that are willing to do your exact job, and they'll do it just as good as you. And the only way you can set yourself apart right off the bat is quick communication. So I make it a point to answer text messages. I mean, when we were overseas, I got up during my business hours in the States. So if we were 6 hours ahead, I was adjusting my sleep pattern overseas to make sure that by 9 a.m. I was up and able to respond to people. And now I don't do that, because I make them CC Justin and he responds. But, we've done that forever, and that's how we've been successful. I mean, we make way more money than we should and that we need. So, that's all we can ask for.
So I know there are a lot of agents here that might be considering building a team. What advice would you give to an agent who is at the point where they need to add an admin, add a buyer's agent? How did you know when you were ready?
Okay, so when I was working 96 hours a week, I knew I was ready. So I added Sue first, and Sue took care of all my financial stuff. So she took care of all my rental property. I had 20 rental properties in Florida at one time, which I've now sold all of them. But Sue was handling bills and finances and all that stuff part-time. And then I was working so much and making, well over $80,000 a month every month consistently for, I would say, years. And at that time I was like, okay, so now I hired Justin, and, I started Justin, I don't even know, $15, $20 an hour, but then Justin's value became much more important to me. So his hourly rate went through the roof, because I was making a lot of money, and B, I couldn't do it without him. Right. So at one time, I think he was making, what, Justin, 40 or 45 an hour? Yeah. And you made last year well over 100 grand, right? And this year you'll probably make 500. And so it's super important to not be, you guys see the teams in our office, it's a revolving door. Our teams in our office, they have a revolving door, because either they pay very poorly, or, they don't see the value. So when I hire somebody, I see the value in that person before I hire them. And then if they can prove their value to me and loyalty to me, I am 100% happy to pay them much more than I could probably find somebody else for, because people who you can trust are very hard to come by. And so if you can find somebody who's not going to steal your business and steal your money, and who's going to work hard for you and treat your clients good, then they're worth every penny. So yes, I took a huge pay cut by bringing on Justin 50-50, but I couldn't do it without him. So if he left, I would have to try to hire somebody else, and it would be nearly impossible. I would have to come back to Tampa. I would have to train that person. And so I always tell people, try the Keller Williams way, but understand there is another way to do it. So if you try the Keller Williams way, which is a very good proven way, and you can't make that work, don't give up, but try other ways to make it work. Maybe you hire a part-time admin, or maybe you add somebody different. Maybe, I don't know the Keller Williams way, but maybe they tell you to add a buyer's agent first, and maybe you want to add an admin first. That's fine if you can handle the load of all the buying and the selling. So I hope that answers kind of what you were asking.
Yes, I know you have a great sense of responsibility and loyalty to your team members. Do you have a certain amount of accountability that you expect from your team members? I know that sometimes I'll have an agent that thinks they need to go on a team because they are under the impression that they're going to be given leads, but they have to know that there is a certain amount of obligation and expectation from the team leader, because they're providing leads and they want a certain level of conversion because they know the cost of those leads.
Okay, so on a normal team situation, you are going to have a ton of accountability. I have never run my team like that. So Justin knows that if I give him a lead and he doesn't close it, he doesn't get paid. And Kyle knows that if he gets a lead and he doesn't close it, or he misses the appointment, and that person doesn't end up buying and or selling, that he's not going to get bonused out. So everybody knows that it's in their best interest to jump on these appointments and jump on these leads, and we split the money. So I benefit because they have to close in order for all of us to get paid. But I also don't hold team meetings. I don't hold them to hours. I don't question them when they tell me they're going to the Keys. I just try to cover for them as best as I can, or, hey, forward me your voicemails. So I feel like I'm pretty easygoing when it comes to that, but I also let everybody know, if mistakes are made, it's a learning curve. And I try to express to everybody on the team, this is the mistake you made. This is how not to do it in the future. Jimmy and Carolyn constantly call me for advice. And that's a good thing, because I would rather everybody call me and get my opinion before doing something. And that way, if it's wrong, I'll eat it, and instead of doing something and then I have to eat it. And I would have said, oh, don't do that, or, do it differently. So I don't ask for accountability, but if you look at my team, everybody's a self-motivator, self-starter. So Carolyn's why is her kids. So I don't really harass her. If she doesn't close anything for 2 months, it's on her. She's not making the money, but she's got kids, and that's important to her. Justin just got married, doesn't have any kids. So his why right now, I'm pretty sure, is financial stability and independence. And that's what he's growing towards at the moment. Jimmy has kids, so his why is his family. So everybody's got a different why. So I can't expect people to do everything that I want them to do, because their whys are different than my whys.
So I heard you say that if I give Kyle a lead, if I give Justin a lead, regarding James and Carolyn, I know that they are working their database a lot. Are you providing leads to everyone on your team?
No. So Carolyn and James are on my team for convenience only. And this is one of the things that I actually really had a problem with when we first came over to Keller Williams, because they wanted us to switch to a traditional Keller Williams team when we were recruited. But part of being recruited, I was like, I'm not changing my team. So Jimmy has his own database and he works his own database, but we do rely on each other for help. So if Jimmy's out of town, Justin will help him. If Jimmy has a legal question or a broker question, he'll call me. I sat for my broker's exam and passed. I just choose not to, be a broker. I don't, I would rather just have that knowledge and be a broker associate, which I am now. So the only three people who get leads are the three people you're seeing in front of you, which is Kyle, Justin, and then of course myself. We share, us three share what's going on. So if I take a listing, I'll pretty much take the listing from here. Justin will go to the house. If it requires a meeting, he'll get all my listing notes. I'll schedule the photos, and then I'll do everything. I'll put the listing in, I'll negotiate everything out. I'll schedule the inspections. If it's our buyer, Justin will assist with that. And then I'll compliance everything, whether compliance likes it or not, because normally they send it back a couple times. And then we just split everything.
So I know you said you were retired. It doesn't sound like you're retired.
Hey, listen, when you work 95 hours a week and you go down to working 30, that's retirement.
So thanks for talking to us. I'm going to talk to the guys for a minute.
Okay.
I'm going to corroborate your story, make sure that what you say is what you say. So Justin and Kyle, why don't you guys tell us a little bit about what it's like to be on Ryan's team, and regarding the leads that you're getting. I know you're closing up because you're on the top of the top 30 report. How are you cultivating those leads? And talk kind of loud so that Ryan can hear you.
Ryan, can you hear me? Can everyone back
Yes.
here? A day in the life is overwhelming. It's a lot of work, but it's rewarding. So just being able to help someone, I feel like our team has a process regardless of who you see. You might come in contact with Ryan, myself, Kyle, Sue, James, Carolyn. We all have the same process. I think that's very important regardless of who you see. We talked about the different personality types and just being able to mesh with people. The process doesn't change. People might change, but the process doesn't. And I think that's what gets the returning customers and clients to come back to you, is because they know you have a process, they know you're going to get them what they want, but they're going to have all the knowledge and information at their fingertips.
What about you? You're the ish.
Just to be able to respond quickly. The biggest thing I've learned about this team is coming on to the team. All of the process that they have to roll with is all the same thing. The ambition and integrity just to get something done can never change. It doesn't matter if it's $100,000 home or $1 million home. The ambition will always be there to help your client out. So just to be able to fill a role on a championship team, I'm very young, so seeing the opportunities that are in front of me are just amazing, and trying to fill in what I can to help this team get profitability.
I know that Ryan has always had a mission of service for his clients. And I can tell that that's your mission too. I think it's very important that you're doing it because you want to help people, not just make a lot of money. But if you're working hard and have high standards, the money will come. What are your goals? What's your big why? What's your big why?
Mine's my family. My parents purchased their home here. They moved from out of state when I was moved from Chicago. It was not my decision to come here when I was young, but it's my decision to stay. They built in West Chase when it was up and coming in the early 2000s. They foreclosed on their home, and I think they had very poor guidance on the purchase they were making. Market conditions we can't control, but I think the knowledge and the information we're providing people can be controlled, and my parents didn't have that. So having to go through that, we rented for 12 years throughout my childhood. I had to move from home to home to home because of a mistake that I think, whether my parents missed it or the agent or the person guiding them missed it, I want to provide that to someone. So that's my why right now. And that will change. I did just get married, Ryan shared. That'll change. That's going to be my wife and my future kids. We've got a dog, but right now it's helping someone not make a mistake or a disaster where they're going to have financial ruin. I want to make sure they're in the home that fits that and suits them best.
For me, my why is just to prove myself right. I felt like I've always grown up having people push me in directions that I've never wanted to go, at least where my heart was at. So a little bit, kind of my backstory the past year is I dropped out of school. I got really, my parents always hated it. They always yelled at me, but I started doing solar, knocking door to door, and I knocked 100 doors a day, every single day, Saturday, Sunday, it doesn't matter when it was. And I always do what Justin does, and my heart's always been to be into real estate. I didn't know how or why it was possible, and I always came up to Justin, hey, you need help? Hey, man, I see what you're doing. Do you need any help? Anything I can do? And at first, it was always a no. Like, everything is under control, and as you guys see, we have a process down, and the process can't change right now. And sure enough, kept knocking doors, and he said, if you do X, Y, and Z, I'll give you a chance of just thinking about coming on to the team. And one day I came up to him, I said, here's X, Y, and Z. I proved myself right. Is there anything I can do? One thing led after another, just working hard, and kind of just want to prove myself right. Know that no matter what everyone's always told me, I can do it, and I know where my heart's at. Someday I want to be where Ryan's at. So that's my life.
So I've been doing a lot of talking. Do you guys have questions to Ryan and his team? Do you have a fantastic mentor and someone that you're learning from? And I know that we see you at the top of the board every month. And are you guys doing listings and buyers? Do you separate it out, or?
For the most part, maybe do both. We find roles that we like to do, we stick to those, but I think we're all pretty well versed.
Yes, so I think it's very inspiring. I really like the genuine way that it comes across, from Ryan and the team. And I was in service for over 20 years for a big corporation because I genuinely love to serve people. Yet real estate was kind of, winking the eye at me like a few years back. And finally, here I am. Very inspiring to hear about the rental portion of it because I just started with Keller Williams not too long ago in March. And looking forward to cultivate my database. I've been doing what they say in the training, all-star agent, like you go right, left, up and down in the Tampa Bay area. And I came across with few opportunities of open houses and showings and things like that. And I'm kind of doing what Kyle was doing with, his partner, about asking, hey, what can I do? So I'm kind of calling around some agents to say, hey, if you need me, let me know, and things like that. But with the rental, it just gives me some great positive feedback about where I can land in the future one way or another. Because I just got a rental listed, and many agents, or most of them, kind of give me the feedback, there's not much money on rental, Maybell, but go at it. I'm like, what do you mean? This is an opportunity. And oh Lord, I got bombarded with that rental listing. So I have a good amount of leads from it. It took about 23 days to rent it because there's a lot of more inventory in Tampa, but it had made me feel so good. It kind of pumped up my blood and my positive thinking that it's gonna land me somewhere because it just got under contract. And the clients that I serve are kind of giving up halfway through it. But we finally did it, and now the mother of the client and the sister are gonna be purchasing a home, hopefully very soon with me. I just gotta get them through the pre-approval process, so it just bring me those solid, not leads, prospects now. And then I just now gotta get to work with everyone else that contacted me via email or a phone call. And even though it has been off the market for 48 hours, I'm still getting phone calls through. So it goes to show, just like what Ryan was saying about him taking a rental that no one else, a mega agent, may not be interested on at that moment.
I
But
just
we're
think
doing
activity breeds activity, and mindset is everything, and you're looking at everything as an opportunity, and you're making your own opportunities, and that's fantastic.
Yes.
Maybe you have questions?
Ryan, you said you do things differently than the Keller Williams way. May I ask, in what way?
Well, to be honest with you, I don't know the exact Keller Williams way when it comes to team running, but I do know that the splits are really low for teammates. And so I think that you'd be hard pressed to find another team that makes well over $1 million a year that just brought a 25-year-old in as a 50-50 partner. Most teams will, have a split with their teammates and they take a majority of the commission, but most teams also provide additional services that we don't provide. So they will provide, they'll do lead generation or something like that. So we don't do any, our motto is no overhead. So we don't do lead generation. We don't pay for Zillow leads. We don't have office space. We have zero expenses. So my accountant hates it, but that's just the way that if you want to weather any storm or you want to weather a bad month, you have to have zero expenses. So we don't pay for any leads or buying any sort of into any lead generation stuff. We don't have what is that stuff called when you put people on like a mail drip or whatever? Like we don't have a database of people. Like I have a spreadsheet in Excel going back 14 years of everybody I sold a house to. That's it. So we don't, we just don't run like a normal team, because a normal team, you're showing up to a meeting, you've got a dialer who's trying to get, cold calling list. We don't cold call, we don't door knock, we don't do any of that stuff. And I'm not saying that that's wrong. I'm saying it doesn't work for us. So I made a pact that if I had to cold call, I would go back to work and do something else. So to be honest with you guys, last year I took the entire year, which my team doesn't even know this, maybe Justin does, but I got certified to underwrite. So I have my mortgage underwriter license now. And then I went and got my anti-money laundering certificate. And so I do all these extra things to learn, because I feel that teaching all this stuff and knowing all this stuff down the road is going to be important. So when people call me and say, when a lender calls me and says, oh, I sent this in for the clear to close, but this happened, I'm like, no, that's not actually true, because guidelines for underwriting are XYZ, so you can really, learn and teach. But most teams just do things differently. They have a space. You have to be there at a certain time. They've got a dialer that's calling for sale by owners on Zillow. We don't do any of that stuff. So I think that's the big difference.
If you could give our agents one piece of advice, I'm going to ask you and I'm going to ask the guys too. What would you tell our agents to do to be successful?
I'm going to give you 3 pieces of advice. Number 1 is communication. If you send an email and you don't get a reply within 24 hours, you pick up the phone and call. I tell my people that weekly, because it is important that if you don't get a reply from I sent them an email. Well, did they answer? No. Pick up the phone and call, because a lot of people aren't email people. Number 1 is communication. Number 2, live below your means. I make anywhere from $800 to $1 million a year. I drive a 7-year-old vehicle. I live in a $800,000 house. I live way below my means. I don't pay for haircuts. So clearly. So when I look at my budget to live is $5,000 a month. That's what I spend to enjoy my life. And that includes an expensive mountain bike and having gym memberships or doing what I want to do, gas, everything, $5,000 a month. But there hasn't been a month that I've ever made under 60,000. So if you make 60,000 and you're spending 5, you can certainly weather any storm. So my second piece of advice, just because you make a killer year, don't go upgrade your lifestyle. You don't need to. You don't need to keep up with the Joneses. Who cares if you're not driving a BMW or an Audi or whatever? Who cares if you live in a, and I taught Justin this too. Justin lives so far below his means, it's crazy. He could literally live off of $4,000 a month and he makes a ton of money. And I've instilled that in every person who works for me. Don't upgrade your expenses just because you upgrade your income, because your income is going to come down. No matter what, it's going to come down. What's my third thing? My third thing is to have a goal, and when you meet it, know that it's time to be done. So my financial goal was 5 million. I met that goal 3 years ago, and I said, not enough. And then I changed it to 8 million. And a year ago, I met that goal, not enough. And then COVID hit. And it was like almost like a slap in the face. like, what are you doing still killing yourself? So I set my number to 10 million and I reached it this year at age 41. And just with that amount of money sitting in a 2% interest account, you can have a great life. So know when is, what is your number? And when you get there, don't kill yourself. I'm not being age discriminate when I say I am not slinging real estate when I'm 70. So I set my number, I met my number, and I brought Justin on within a month of meeting my number as a 50-50 partner. The last thing that I'll say is everybody says, why do you stay at Keller Williams? Why do you stay at Keller Williams? That I get recruited twice a week. The first thing I say when I get recruited is, do you have a Nikki Ubaldini at your office? And they're like, what? And I say, Engels and Volkers, do you have a Nikki Ubaldini? I came to Keller Williams for the money. I stayed because of Nikki. So those of you who know Nikki or don't know Nikki, she is a pit bull, and she is somebody who you want on your side when shit hits the fan. So I could go open my own brokerage. I definitely have the experience. I have my license, but I choose to stay at Keller Williams because A, nobody's going to offer me a better financial plan. And B, I have Nikki for advice and behind my back when I need her the most. So those are my three things.
I love it. So what about you guys?
Brian hit that. I was going to say communication is the biggest one. Follow-up is huge. Not following up, then you're going to go to the next case.
Me, availability, always available, whenever needs at all costs, whatever your client needs, make sure it's done the right way.
For you guys, and I appreciate you guys being here. Hope to see you at our team meeting more often. Thanks, Ryan. Appreciate you coming in. Thank you,
No
Ryan.
problem. See you later.
See you, Ryan.
Bye-bye.